and they really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, I mean, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.
Welcome to episode 61 of the Outer Voices podcast. We are your hosts, Keem and Esme.
Woo.
Would you believe I actually kind of forgot how the intro went as I was talking?
No, you played that off very smoothly.
I was just like, how does this go? Oh my gosh. It's been, my mind is kind of out of it. Oh.
Yes, perpetually. But we
Yeah,
knew
but
that.
it's been ridiculous this past like week or so. I'm out of my mind, just like the rest of the country. But anyway, this is another one of our pre-recorded episodes.
Yeah,
so-
fun fact, the last time we recorded was 2 days ago.
Yes.
We've recorded 3 episodes in the last 5 days.
Yeah, we're getting
something
ahead.
or something
We're getting
like
ahead as travels the country to
So much traveling.
do their thing.
Love traveling.
And I will be stationary here in New York City and not doing shit. So if just for your reference, if the news seems a bit out of date, that's why we've recorded early, and we're in quite a week to be recording, by the way, with everything that's going on. It's very much insane. Everything that's happening. But some good things. The Incredibles 2 came out last Friday. So
Nice.
go see The Incredibles, guys. Go get some joy. Get a little bit of joy in your life from seeing a nice kids movie about family. But yeah, should we go into the news?
Be careful in The Incredibles 2, though. Apparently there is a strobe effects warning if you have photosensitive epilepsy or other conditions that are affected by that kind of thing. Be advised.
And I would like to say something about that. More movies need that warning, because most action movies especially have like some very jarring strobe effects at some point. And there is no epilepsy warnings in anything.
Yeah. Which is bullshit.
But I forgot what movie I was seeing. I think it was the movie Upgrade. And I was just like, I was sitting there going, if I had epilepsy, I'd be having a seizure right now. Like, no doubt. If I had epilepsy right now, I'd be having a seizure. Like, there needs to be more epilepsy warnings in front of movies.
Yeah.
There should be warnings about shitty movies in front of some movies.
Now, but that's completely subjective.
Sometimes.
It's subjective.
Some movies are just universal garbage.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, go see Incredibles 2. Once again, pay attention to the epilepsy warning. So you can keep yourself and your children or whoever safe. Anyway, let's move into the news.
Yeah.
Let's go into. I know you started first last time as well, but let's start first with yours again, because it's the more serious of the two.
Yeah, that is true.
So let's start with that.
Okay, so I always hate it when we have to talk like big national news, but there's stuff that needs to be talked about, right? And so what I am pulling in today is the very recent news that Trump. I have to say Trump, right? Like, I can't say president. That doesn't work for me. Whatever. Trump has said that he is going to sign an executive order to end the policy of separating children from their families when they cross the border illegally into the United States. Which, up until like this morning, the administration has been saying that they can't. Right? That's the thing, is they've been saying that they can't do that. Only Congress can do that. But no, turns out Trump is going to do it.
Are you telling me that he lied about something? How could he ever? I am shocked. I am some dude named Paul.
You're what?
Some dude named Paul, and I'm appalled.
Oh, God damn it. That was terrible. That was terrible even for you.
Yes, it was.
That was really, really bad.
Right.
And so you, I know, have a whole rant about this. So tell me your rant about this.
Well, first of all, for all the people who are like, oh, at least he's doing something about it and blah, 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 and all this stuff. First of all, you don't go into a situation that you and your administration is responsible for. First you blame everyone else but you.
Mm-hmm.
Because the excuse was because of the Democrats' policies and the fact that they won't fund the wall that we have to do these practices.
Yeah. Right, like the administration has been blaming the Democrats. Like, this is not our policy. This is the Democrats. First off, they've been saying law, not policy. Trump and everybody who speaks for the administration has been saying repeatedly, this is a law that was put in place by Democrats, and so we can't do anything about it.
By the way, it's
none
not,
of that is
not
true.
a law. Yeah.
That is all false. That is all false, but they have been repeatedly blaming it on the Democrats.
Right.
So, step one.
Step one.
Blame it on the Democrats.
You don't get to come in, undo something that you did and blaming on and who you were blaming on someone else.
Right.
Two, you don't get to come in and do something literally a few hours after you said, hands are tied. Can't do nothing. Can't do anything about it. Hands are tied. Like, because either you're lying then or you're lying now and not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I was explaining this to my sister earlier. This has nothing to do with whether it's like their decision and the Trump administration's decision on whether to rethink these policies or do something to get stop this separation and whatever. It has nothing to do whether they think it's morally right. It also has nothing to do with the public outcry. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And as much as I want to say, man, it's good that protest and whatever had this effect and was able to get something done and the people were able to, make this movement. That's not what's happening here. The key word to what's happening is popularity.
Yes.
That's it.
I'm going to go one further, but I'll let you finish your rant first.
No, go ahead.
So, popularity with who, though? Because that's important.
And that's what I was getting to. Actually.
No, I know. That's why I told you to finish.
Okay. And it's not popularity with the majority of the population. Because the majority of the population is not Trump supporters. Like I said, I've been beating this in with all the issues and whatever the general population has. Most of this country does not support the Trump regime and its agenda. They don't. I mean, you can look at the popular vote. You can look at actual polls. Like the majority of the country is not for this. But it doesn't matter to the administration. It doesn't matter that the opposition doesn't support you. The only thing that matters is popularity amongst supporters. Trump is an egotist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at his most raw, he is a creature of pure ego. He absolutely needs to be loved, to be popular. He needs to think that he's the hero, that he's the one that people love. And his base, his staunch followers, they give him that. As long as they are pleased and they are giving their unbreaking support to him, he is going to keep doing things. He is going to keep doing things that are ridiculous to please them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he does. He needs to be loved. With that being said, it's been very hard for even his most staunch supporters to justify what is happening.
Yes.
I mean, the ultra-conservative Christian right that has been behind Trump and praying for him and all this bullshit, they can't justify, not really, justify the thing that's going on. And we discussed this on the last episode with Sessions and Huckabee Sanders using the Bible to try to justify. Yeah, they're trying, but it's not going to work. Like, it's not, like, that tactic isn't really working with supporters. And normally it would. But there is so much, like, it's too far. And only the most crazed far-right extremists can even, like, say, okay, we're okay with this. I mean, I look at, like I was telling Ez, like, right before we started recording, Jeff Sessions' church has brought him up in the church, because the church has their own, like, system of governments and, like, church legality and such, like most churches do. But they have brought him up on charges of child abuse for the actions of the administration. Like, the Attorney General's church has openly said, we do not support this. As a matter of fact, we consider within our church this man to be a criminal.
Yeah.
A religious criminal. Like, that's not a good sign. Like, that's not a good sign when that's the people you want, like, you've been having support you, that you've wanted to support you, that's been your base. So when you lose your base, you have to do something to try to win them back. And that's all this is. This has nothing, like, these actions have nothing to do with what's, like, with the morality of what's happening. It is purely a popularity contest.
Yep, and there's another level of manipulation here. Because among the really diehard Trump supporters, Trump has, I mean, even among people who look at what's going on and say, yes, this is atrocious, yes, this needs to stop, Trump has not lost their support, because according to those people, according to the Trump administration, who is causing that to happen?
The Democrats.
The Democrats. He has sold the idea to way too much of his base that it's not him and his administration that's doing this, it's the Democrats. And so now he gets to swoop in as the hero and say, oh, even though I'm not supposed to, and he's sold the idea that he's not supposed to have any power here to change this policy, right? He didn't create the policy. He's not supposed to have the power to change it, but now he's swooping in as the dark horse hero to say, look, I'm going to do something about it, even though I'm not supposed to.
Right.
And he gets to be the hero in this twisted, fucked up, like, abhorrent tale that he's telling. Right? He gets to be the good guy.
He's playing cowboy.
Yes.
And I said this during, like when he was running for election. Like his entire election was him playing cowboy. He gets to be the guy that comes into town with the white hat and frees everybody. That's what he wants. That's what he's always done. And see, even moving away from his staunch supporters, there is a even deeper level of manipulation. Because for those against him, who against these practices, that who even go, hey, the Trump regime was the one responsible for this, whatever. They're going to take this. Many of them are going to take this as a victory. They're going to go, hey, look, they're doing something. We did something.
Yep.
And look how successful we are. We pressured him, and he did something about what we did. We've won, but they're not gonna turn that into we need to keep going. We need to keep pushing. They're gonna go. We won. We can back off a bit. We don't have to worry about something. We don't have to worry about this right now. We don't have to worry about what they're doing, what other things they're doing right now. And we also don't have to worry about what damage has already been done and what damage is going to continue to be done. We're going to take this victory.
Yeah.
So it's, my God, if I didn't hate it, I'll say it was brilliant. Like, you know me, I have a weird respect for manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has always interested me to see how how you can manipulate human minds. And once again, and the Trump regime has been experts at manipulating masses. Whether it's for or against them, they are experts at manipulating masses.
Yep.
All you need is a fervent base. Doesn't even have to be a lot of people. Just a fervent and loud base that will stay riled up, stay out doing stuff, to make everyone else think that they are powerless, like that the majority is powerless, that the people who aren't rabid are powerless. And then you stick those fighting against you in a perpetual state of fighting that has no victorious outcome. So you stay in power, you keep the fighting going, and as long as they're fighting without actually doing anything to affect what's happening, you're gonna stay in power. You're gonna keep doing what you're doing. Your fan base is gonna keep doing what you want them to do, and the people fighting against you are going to keep doing what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. It is fucking ridiculous. This is one of the issues. Once again, in the discussion I had with my stepsister this morning, she was just like, I don't feel like all this all the protesting that's happening is actually doing anything. And I've had this same issue before. We've talked about it on the show.
Yep.
And she's like, I don't feel like it's doing anything because they don't care. And the things they do that seems to be in response to the protesting is not in response to the protesting. It's response to their own policies and their own manipulations. So what do we do? And of course, my solution is we burn it down. However, I'm still trying to get other people on this boat with me. You know, beat your cell phones into swords and go do some work. But you know, they ain't listening to me right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else you want to add to this?
No, I added my piece, I think.
All right. So with that, we're going to move into my news story, which is not nation. It's not only is it not national, it is international. We're gonna go to our neighbors to the north, who we have alienated very much recently. But we're gonna go to a story.
Sorry, Canada, we love you.
Yeah, we love you. Don't cut off our maple syrup reserves, please. And poutine. We need your poutine. I need your poutine.
I don't. It makes me sick.
That's because you're lactose intolerant.
I know. It's terrible.
It's so delicious. But from Vancouver, I'm gonna read you the headline, and then I'm gonna go into it. The headline is: Canadian couple loses custody of their daughter after God channeling stuffed lion acts as their lawyer.
Which
what? So this is going on in Vancouver. So family members, doctors, and social workers all brought a case against this couple for their extreme religious views. Part of the people against this couple were also members of the church that they used to be a part of. So even the church is going, they've gone too far. So instead of hiring a lawyer, the couple claimed that a stuffed lion was their lawyer, their witness, and their judge, because this lawyer was channeling the voice of Jesus Christ. And they could speak. The lion would speak in tongues only to them, and they would translate his messages. So, of course, as it would seem, as logic would dictate. First of all, when I read this, I thought it was an Onion article. It reads like an Onion article.
Yeah, right?
It is not an Onion article. So these people obviously started out as Christian. But so this is a couple they met. Their religion is one of the things that brought them together. They met, and according to all like family members and things, their religious beliefs got more and more extreme. And as they got more and more extreme, they started moving from different Christian community to different Christian community and being banned from these different churches, these different communities, because they had set out to purge churches of evil influences. Literally, they were going to church, claiming they were exorcising demons from the churches and like infiltrating these church communities for this purpose and all this craziness. They were engaged. They got married. While they were this before the child was born, but while they were still married, the wife would talk to her coworkers about how her husband would restrain her with duct tape and choke her to prevent her from crying. And she also said that her husband grew up in a cult that condoned sexual relationships with minors. They would do rape play. Of course, when coworkers called the police to investigate this relationship, she of course denied any of this, and denied even saying any of this.
Yeah.
Of course, she then proceeded to have a child, and the police, after this kept going on, the police stepped in and took custody of the child, which led to where we are right now. So of course the state would bring in their witnesses, and the couple would cross-examine the witnesses as proxies for their lawyer, aka Stuff Jesus Lion.
Yeah.
And go and it went on and all this stuff. Eventually, the judge, which I'm surprised the judge even let it go on this long, but the judge, of course, did not let them regain custody of the child, obviously, because of the mental instability, the domestic abuse, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, but they are one interesting thing about it is with the custody stuff, there was no mention, especially since it was claimed, and it honestly sounds true, that the husband was a part of a cult that had sex with minors, and I can't remember what it was called, but there was a cult in that area that existed, I think started in the 70s. It was the 70s through the late 80s, early 90s. And it was a religious cult that lived out in the woods, where they once again they had sex with minors. There was a lot of maiming and other horrible things done with the bodies. I will have to look it up. I can't remember what it was.
No, I know what you're talking about too. It's from
the episode of Cults. I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, that was like the first episode that we listened to together.
Yeah.
The Anthill Kids.
Yeah, the Anthill Kids. And this was if I'm not mistaken, this is the same area as the Anthill Kids. And also with the Anthill Kids, it took forever to arrest Roche Thoreau. And I remember his name, Roche Thoreau.
Roke. Close.
It was Roke?
Yes.
Even as they were talking about it on the episode, I was pronouncing it Roche. But I'm going looking at it now. Even with this, the government never approached these actions for the religious nature of them. They just approached them from the child abuse and all that stuff. And it honestly sounds like, if from what they were doing, going from church community to church community, sounds a lot like what the Anthill Kids and the guy who was with them, the guy who led them, did before to recruit.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if this couple was not either a child of one of those people or a grandchild of one of those people, because it's the similar area, the similar style, the similar goal, and the similar treatment. I would not be surprised. Would not. I can't say because I haven't investigated fully, but it sounds very similar to Thoreau and the Anthill Kids. But even with that case, one of the main issues with that case was the authorities would not address the issue, because they said, well, this is a religion, and if we address that issue, then we are going to be oppressing a religious group, and we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Which was one of the reasons the Anthill kids went on for so long, and the atrocities they committed against their members went on for so long, is because they didn't, like, nobody wanted to step in on religious grounds. And the judge in this case, while he did rule on child abuse and, like, mental instability and all that stuff for the child, there was purposefully no mention of the religious part of it. Even though it was clearly not okay. And this is going to sound really weird. And I will say that it's going to sound really weird. When it comes to the defense of religious freedom, quote unquote, oftentimes we get ourselves in this corner of, we can't say anything about what somebody does because it's their religion. And we can let them act and do as they please because it's their religion. And that causes a lot of atrocities to go on. That causes cults to grow.
Yeah. Right, like there's a difference between allowing somebody freedom of religion and allowing somebody to use freedom of religion to actually do bad things.
Right.
To other people, right? Not just to themselves, right? Like, I mean, people can do bad things to themselves, I suppose, whatever. But when that crosses the line into they're actually harming other people, including children, especially children, that is a huge problem. And that cannot be defended through religious liberty, freedom of religion, whatever.
Right. This is one thing I always like go into. Like, there's a point where, first of all, freedom, quote unquote, doesn't mean everyone gets to do whatever they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you lived in a world where everyone gets to do whatever they want to, it's chaos. People are like, that's all that is. And that's anarchy, and not in a good way. And like I've had arguments on a smaller level with different people with the justification of like, oh, I am basically beating my child.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is one that it came up. I am beating my child because he's a boy and he played with a doll, and I don't want him to be gay because being gay is against my religion. So I'm gonna whoop the child so he doesn't play with the doll, so he won't be gay. And my argument was, hey, don't beat your child.
Yeah.
Especially over something like playing with a toy. Because children don't give a shit about girl toys and boy toys unless somebody tells them this is a girl toy or a boy toy. And guess what? Girl toys and boy toys don't exist.
Yep.
They are just toys. A child goes and gets a toy and they play with it. It's just a toy. Because to that child, like, to us, we shouldn't care. But to that child, it's just a fucking toy. It's something I want to play with. Something that's in my hand is fun. Until you tell them differently. And like, it's not okay to harm a child because it's in your religious beliefs that you don't like gay people. So I'm going to harm a child for doing something that you think that's going to make them gay, which has nothing to do with anything. And the defense can't be, well, that's my religious belief. Your religious belief is harming a child.
Yep.
And back to the Trump administration again. Your religious belief is harming children. If you're using your religion as justification, your religion is harming children. That's
And
wrong.
that can't be acceptable.
Right. And and also and another thing is these a lot of the time these especially here in America these conservative Christians who are doing some of these ridiculous things, so ridiculously harmful things like gay conversion therapy and all this stuff that are actively harming people and justifying it under, well, it's religious freedom. We have the right to believe whatever. They're also the same ones going, man, those Muslims are so bad because they make women wear burqas and hijabs and niqabs, and judge someone for going, oh well, this, and over in Saudi Arabia they caned this person for touching somebody that's not her husband or something, like some bullshit like that. And you're doing the same shit, but you're going, well, it's okay, it's my religious freedom. Fuck off. Get out of here. It comes a time in the justification of freedom, quote unquote, air quotes all over the place, that you're not justifying freedom. You're not supporting freedom. What you're supporting is harm. When your freedom, quote unquote, is imposing on others, then you're not imposing harm on others, then you're not supporting freedom. You're supporting oppression. That's it. It's just the opposite of freedom.
Yep.
Like, if your freedom is taking away freedom from somebody else, you don't get it. Like, that, you've done the opposite of what you set out to do. And it just pisses me off. So, I mean, I'm done on that. I'm done on my religious rant. Like, these people up in Canada, they are way off the reservation.
Yeah.
And I hope for the best for that child. I hope that child is in a better environment, where it can get some, get raised properly. And I hope its parents.
Hey! Just point of order. Even though they're a child, they're still a person. Don't call them it.
Well, I don't know whether it's
they. Say they if you're talking about a human being and don't know their gender.
I mean, humans can be its.
No, but that's something that you have to consent to. Because it is a dehumanizing pronoun. Just call them they. Don't call them it.
Oh, okay. Well, they.
Sorry. It bothered me.
Anyway, damn it, I've lost my train of thought.
You hope the child is in a place
where they can, get and I hope the parents. My hope is that they get the help they need.
Yeah.
So they, don't keep living this ridiculousness. But if that doesn't happen, I hope the parents don't make this any more difficult and keep this child going through the same process over and over again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm done with that.
Are you sure?
I mean, I'm done for this episode. Also, hey guys, go check out the podcast Cults.
It's pretty sweet.
It's awesome. I'm a cult guy. That sounds weird, but I like studying and learning about cults. It's a great podcast. So go check that out. You will hear more about the Anthill Kids, the group we talked about in this episode. Like I said, it's a great podcast. You learn a lot.
Yep.
But with that, we're going to move on into our topic segment after a brief musical interlude. Enjoy.
I guess they thought I was safe. If I was darker, they say that I'm a dangerous ape. Fuck these colorless bastards, they can slap on my knob. 3-6 to them all. Where the bud, tear the club up. Hit a racist motherfucker, beat him to the flow. M-Town, better let him know. I'm on my Django shit, you know what time it is. Watch what you say, it might get you ripped. Look me in my face, I'm on my pomade shit. Pro-black like a golf, fist up like a ladder. My rhymes fall from my bladder. Yeah, I'm pissing them off, protest the one you exalt. White tears full of salt, the worst fist up with all. Left end to a rapper, right hook to your ear. So my message is clear, ain't no code switch. Middle finger I flip, John Wilkes in the booth, taking shots at the president. I hope this record set a motherfucking precedent. I'm with the shits, no fucks to give. Speaking my mind, I'm about to wig. I'm about to wig, you about to wig. I'm with the shits, no fucks to give. I'm shouting fuck the peace, fuck police, fuck the flag, fuck your racist mom and dad, your racist grandparents, brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, fuck them too. But we went to school together, fuck you too. I'm just a devil's advocate, fuck you too. I didn't mean to vote for Trump, fuck you too. But I'm black like you, nigga, fuck you too with your garbage ass. Uncle Tom content with being trash, y'all can kiss my ass, you don't get a pass. You mad, I'm glad, but what about the black on black crime? A conflated myth I'll never co-sign. Chad's killing Billies all the time. Tell them get their leaders on the line. Oh, that's right, they're busy killing mine. Paying pigs to shoot us on the dime. Trust the system, love they blue swine. I pray the day I get to see them fry. I dread the day they pierce me with the line. Take my life, my words would never die. You can take my rights, my will would never die. Take my life, my words will never die. You can take my rights, my will would never die. I'm with the shits, no fucks to give. Speaking my mind, I'm about to wig. I'm about to wig, you about to wig. I'm with the shits, no fucks to give. I'm with the shits, no fucks to give. Speaking my mind, I'm about to wig. I'm about to wig, you about to wig. I'm with the shits, no fucks to give.
And welcome back, everyone. We are now starting our topic segment. And our topic segment is going to cover. It's going to cover what I'd say is the biggest. It's the biggest technological advancement in recent human history. The thing that has shaped our lives, probably the most our current lives, the most fundamentally.
Mm-hmm. And let's be real, the reason that you know about us at all.
Exactly. The reason we're here, the reason you know about us at all, it's how we communicate with the world, it's how we interact with the world now. That thing is social media.
Ugh.
So
that's how I feel.
First, our disdain for social media aside, social media isn't going anywhere.
That is very true.
It is a part of our lives now. It is a part of our society now. It's not going anywhere. It is, like I said, it's probably the primary way we interact with the world now. It's how we get our news. It's how we get our information. It's how we interact with pretty much everyone. Hell, for so many people now, it's how they start, like, their relationships and marriages and families. Like, social media is such a drastic, it's damn near utility at this point.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Like, it would be extremely difficult to function in society without any kind of social media.
Like, it's even getting harder to find a job without a social media presence,
mm-hmm.
which is a very difficult thing to say, because a lot of people's social media presence is not good for their job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever job you do, your social media presence is probably not going to be good for it. So unless you have a fake social media, which a lot of people do, social media presence a lot of people do, that's a difficult situation. But I mean, there are so many jobs right now who, when they look for someone, they're going to go look on social media and see who you are, what you do, what you are doing, what you have said before they hire you. And oftentimes, if they don't find you, they're not going to hire you either, because no social media presence is almost as bad as a bad social media presence. So yeah, it's such an ingrained part of our lives, which honestly I fucking hate. I hate that so much is reliant upon social media. I hate that it's, for me, like, man, I've wanted to get rid of Facebook so much. Like, I've wanted to just delete my Facebook profile.
Yeah.
But if I deleted my Facebook profile right now, I would not be able to contact half of my friends. More than half of my friends. I wouldn't be able to really keep up on, I wouldn't be able to keep up on news. I wouldn't know what's going on.
Yeah, there's no easy way to stay connected and stay informed without social media.
Right. And it's absolutely ridiculous, but hey, we're here now. Like, this is the world we live in. So we're going to talk about how to navigate that, because social media is a fucking cesspool of everything. Like, there's a lot of good information. There's a whole fucking shit ton of really bad information.
Yeah.
So, and how do you decipher what's real and what's not? And I mean, and that's a question we've contemplated on this show in our society right now anyway, is deciphering what's true and what's not, what's fact and what's fiction. Because it's getting harder and harder to decide with just a constant flow of information. It is almost impossible to figure out, without doing extra work, what is fact and what is fiction.
Yeah.
And on social media, you have to be very discerning of the posts that you see, or you are going to just be completely ignorant of everything.
Yeah.
Like, you won't know what's true or not. And we are, like, both of us are guilty of this. Like, there has been many times that we've taken something and run with it because we didn't look. We didn't look deeper. We didn't figure out if what we were reading was true or not. or the facts were correct or not.
Yeah. And that's a good way to not, like, that's, nobody wants to go around half informed or misinformed, right? Don't start mouthing off if you are not sure that what you're saying is true.
I have a friend in particular who is notorious, absolutely notorious, for mouthing off on things that are not true.
Is it who I think it is?
Yeah, it is who you think it is.
Yeah, and then insisting that things are, that news stories that you post or that I post are not true when they actually are.
Yes.
Like, only my news stories are true, whether or not they're actually true. Like, that's not a way to be.
It's difficult at times being friends with this person, and the thing is, so they'll post news stories, and if you can prove to them it's not true, they'll concede that it's not true. But they'll concede in a way, like they'll concede and change the subject.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go, I mean, this may not be true, but this other thing is true. Or, but what about this? This doesn't have anything to do with what you're talking about here. And like along with that, along with not looking, because this person just really just doesn't not look at what they are posting. A lot of the time, and honestly, I don't know if it's an excuse. I don't know if it's really an excuse or the truth. A lot of the time, when called out, this person will go, "Well, I posted this to save it for later. Like I was going to read it, but I didn't want to read it now, so I posted it."
You should tell them that there is actually a save button, and they don't have to continue to actively spread misinformation in order to save it for later.
I have. I have.
Sounds like a weak excuse then for getting called out. Like.
But so yeah. But along with that, along with just not reading, we're not reading things you see. And remember, like always, if you see anything, and this, like I'm saying this to myself as well, if you see anything, if anything is put before you, like any article that makes a claim or whatever, read the fucking article. Read it carefully.
Yes.
Because 75% of websites that are giving news aren't reliable. Some of them aren't even legitimate websites. Like we've seen the investigations these past 2 years of Facebook where Russian bots or bots from other countries, they didn't have to be Russian. I found a lot of Indian bots.
Yep.
Indian bots are rampant on Facebook. But Russian bots, Indian bots, like all these other just websites that generate news stories to get clicks. They're not real. They just generate them to get clicks. And then you click them. That's why they call it clickbait. You click them, they get clicks, they get views, they get advertisers. Advertisers pay them. Or they get clicks, they rile you up about something for you to support some political agenda or some other agenda. When all you have to do is read to figure out. Now, this is probably not going to stop them from getting advertisers. But if you read it and then don't share it, that's going to stop how many ever other people that you're connected to from seeing it and going to it if it's not real. So go and read what you like. If you see some information, read. Reading is fundamental. If I'm like, I don't mean to go after school special on y'all asses, but reading is fundamental.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me. And once again, as I was telling you this before, but my cousin, love her to death. We got into an argument last night, and we got into an argument because she said, "Hey, did y'all read the story of? Did y'all hear the story about the woman who was found in a python after 4 months?" And I actually had read that story, but the woman hadn't been in a python for 4 months. The woman had gone missing like on a Friday, and they found her like the next day. She had been consumed by a python.
Yeah.
In Indonesia. But we got into an argument. I was just like, no, like that it wasn't 4 months. That didn't happen. Like, and also, if somebody was eaten by a snake, you're not going to find a fully intact body in 4 months. Because if the snake was alive, then that body has been digested. And if the snake is dead, both those bodies will have had some decomposition.
Yeah.
Especially out in the wild. Like in the wild, there are carrion animals that once something dies, something else is going to eat on it. But we had this long, like almost shouting match. But at the end of the argument, my sister was on the line with us, and she went and looked it up. And of course, I was right because I had read it and actually done like a little research into it. And my cousin's argument was, well, I didn't read it. I saw the headline, and there was a video. And that's what I took. And I was like, you can't just take a headline and assume it's true. Even when it's a headline in a video. Like, because that's another tool of manipulation. If there's a headline and somebody puts a video under it, even if the person does not watch that video, if you see something on video, you're going to assume it's real, even if it's not.
Yeah.
Have you heard of deep fakes?
No, what is that?
Deep fakes is a technology that can nearly flawlessly imprint another person's face on another person's body. Or they can take a whole person and make them do or say things that they didn't nearly flawlessly. You can make an almost flawless reproduction of a person.
Huh.
On video. And there were PSAs actually put out by different people recently. One of the people was the director Jordan Peele, where he did a video using this technology and had himself appearing as Barack Obama. And this type of technology makes it so very, very, very easy to create misinformation.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, at least somewhat, you could see a video of someone saying something and go, okay, well, this must be a real news story. But now you can't even have that, because you can easily fake somebody doing anything at this point, and suddenly it's real.
Yeah.
So you have to be extra vigilant, extra vigilant when seeing anything on social media. Anything. And along these same lines, another issue we run into is catering yourself too much. Because we live in a very catered world, so we start to cater our social media, taper our social media into things that only we like, that we're automatically going to believe, things that fit our own viewpoints, and that becomes a problem too, because even things that fit your own viewpoints will lie.
Yeah.
And when you cater yourself too much and only take information from places that only support your views, one, you're stifling yourself because you don't give yourself any room to grow and your views to change, and two, you open yourself up for manipulation from other sources that will claim to be supporting your view site, but will be manipulating you down a path that you don't want to go on. Like I said, the same friend I talked about earlier, he only gets his information from libertarian sites. And any information that comes from any other sites is wrong. No matter how much, no matter how many facts that are there to back it up, no matter how much actual information or how much study is done to back it up, if it's not from his trusted libertarian sites, it's not real. And that, like, if you do that, and even if you're liberal and do that same shit, you're a goddamn fool.
Mm-hmm.
Because even sites that, like sites that expound your own viewpoints, are there to manipulate you, to push agendas. Yeah. Sorry. Would you like to add anything? Once again, I am talking a lot.
Not to this particular rant. You've done a great job.
We can move on to the next rant.
Sure, unless you want to add something else.
No, let's go on to the next one.
Okay, so the next piece, like once you have figured out how to tell whether or not stuff that you are seeing online is real, right? First off, like make sure that it's real. But second off, social media has had a really profound effect on just like our collective mental health. And it goes back to something that I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the impact and the importance of social media, is that it's really, really hard to stay informed if you're not connected with social media somehow. And I mean, that's true that it's hard to stay as informed as seems to be the norm now if you're not connected with social media. But the advent of this resource, the advent of social media, has made it so that every single person today is exposed to news and exposed to what's going on in the world basically constantly, right? It used to be that you got your news like every morning when you picked up your newspaper, and then maybe if you had a radio, right, you would get the headline at the top of you would get the headlines at the top of every hour, right? Unless you were in a job where you specifically had to like talk to people, like telephone people regularly, and before that, like Telegram, I guess, is a thing that people used to do, whatever, right? Like, it used to be, like, even if you were extremely connected with the news, you still only got your news a couple of times a day. Whereas now we have a never-ending stream of news in our pockets all of the time. And news now more than ever, because of the prevalence, because it's so easy to get your news published, right? You can self-publish, you could, like, whatever, because it's so easy to get news out there. There's even more competition for people's eyes, right? To make sure that you are the source that people are looking at, which you got to with the clickbait stuff, right? Like spam bots, right? There's more competition for people's time and for people's eyes and for people's views and their clicks. So every single news source that you're looking at is partisan. They're all so much of what we are looking at is the quote unquote like breaking news, which is designed to suck you in and keep your attention.
And it's all about making money. Every click, every view is money.
Right. And one of the biggest ways that one of the biggest tools in their arsenal on getting your clicks, getting your views, getting the money that comes along with those is emotional manipulation. There are almost no news sources out there that don't use some kind of emotional manipulation to suck you in, to make you trust them, to make it so that they are the source that you go to for news. And with that comes like there's emotional tolls for you, for every consumer, to be exposed to this all of the time. And so the challenge becomes, how do you take care of your mental and emotional health when you are bombarded with this kind of emotionally manipulative, like mentally taxing, emotionally taxing information literally all of the time? Which, I mean, Lord help me, I don't know, right? I get sucked into this as much as anybody else does, and it sucks me down and beats me down, right? Like I have just as much problem as anybody does with this. This isn't just me though, right? Like you notice this too?
Yes.
Okay.
See, and like for like me, I am a sucker for pain. Like I get beat down. I get beat down by this constant bombardment, and I just keep on coming back. And that's what we all do, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what we all do. I mean, I see people all the time like, I'm taking a break from social media. I'm taking a break from social media. But within a period of time, and honestly, that period of time, as social media has become more ingrained in our lives, that period of time has shortened considerably. But within a period of time, the person always comes back. Because, once again, you can't really, like, it's a part of our lives. You can't really fully function without social media. So, yeah, me, I just take it, honestly.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, there's a certain amount of like, you just have to put up with it if you're going to be connected. I have to set limits, right? Like one of the reasons that I'm not more active on Facebook, as anybody who has paid attention to me on Facebook knows, right? I'm only sporadically active. And it's because I do spend large quantities of my time, like, intentionally staying off of Facebook in order to avoid that roller coaster. Which, I mean, it sucks that I have to choose between promoting what I care about, like this podcast, promoting the resources that I really do care about, and like my own mental health. Like I have to choose between those things, because if I let myself stay on Facebook, I have way too many people, and this gets into the echo chamber effect, right? I've got way too many people who are posting way too many things about the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again. And it's keeping me on that emotional roller coaster about it. And that just, it drags me down. It sucks my energy. It's a time suck. It's not good, right? Like I know what is happening in the world. I don't need to hear every single take about it over and over again all day.
Right. Like you have to find some way to manage.
Yeah. And one of the ways to manage is to disconnect, right? Like to stay off it for a little while, to set limits on when and how long you're going to be on. Although those are harder and harder. Like I have an app that tells me how many hours a day I have Facebook open on my phone. And one of my goals this summer is to keep reducing that number, just because I notice it if I'm on too long.
See, I'll tell you what I did that has helped me like deal with it more. I have in my social media platforms, I have found or created spaces where I get less of the ridiculous stuff and more things that make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, like you guys have probably heard me talk about it before, but I run a Black Nerds group on Facebook. If you want to look it up, it's Black Nerds United. It's a little plug there, but I run a Black Nerds group on Facebook, and part of that, now I've had some difficulty on there a couple times, but overall, it's a pleasant experience. And that's because I purposefully created an environment that was going to be free of a lot of negativity. That was going to be for supporting hobbies, supporting people like me. So it's a place that I can go to basically get like. I don't have to completely divorce myself from social media, but there's a place I can go where I don't have to see the ridiculousness. And there are a few other groups that I am in that form the same function. Most of my groups are geeky groups, like nerdy groups, because that's a big part of my life. And some poly groups as well. Like I'll go there to get some good feels and some good things. I'll, so hear people talk about like nice things. So I mean, it's whatever you have to do. Like we were saying, social media is not going anywhere. But do what you have to do to keep yourself sane. If it means taking a break or reducing your time, do that. Yep. If it means finding or creating spaces for yourself, do that.
Yep.
Like I said, it's not going anywhere. The one thing that you mentioned, though, and it's probably the thing I dislike the most about social media in general, it's the echo chamber.
Yeah.
It's that group mob mentality. I can't stand it.
I know.
I absolutely can't stand it because people just completely lose the ability to think for themselves. And anyone who isn't part of that group mentality becomes an enemy in their eyes. And that blows me up. And it's also super harmful. It's super harmful, especially in social activism circles. It's super harmful to just keep spouting the same stuff, following the same people, doing the same stuff over and over again, and attacking anyone that says anything to the contrary.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking stop. So I used to be involved in more atheist circles, but I got out of those. I am not involved in many of those anymore, and that's mostly because a lot of atheism is dominated by white men, and so in a lot of those atheist circles, like, this talking head, blah blah, atheist, whatever. Oh yeah, we follow him and do whatever, and we're just gonna parrot what he says. And then, of course, those people start saying things that are super problematic. And then it devolves into two groups. One, the people is like, well, it doesn't matter that they're problematic. They're still our representative. We should keep following what they say. And the other group going, no, this is not good. We shouldn't be supporting this person. And it just became a mess. It's a mess of people repeating the same things over and over again without anyone thinking for themselves, really.
Yeah.
Another thing that I also can't stand. So with the push of things like Me Too and other race issues and stuff being pushed to the forefront, which is great. It's very great. Because of the echo chamber and the groupthink, we're also starting to lose discernment, the ability to discern. We just hear things, and we're already fired up about it because you're supposed to be fired up. You're supposed to be angry about something.
Mm-hmm.
So we hear something, we assume it's truth, we assume it's fact, and then we start expounding it, start expunging it without understanding the situation that's going on. For instance, there is in the YouTube, well, it's their entertainment group, Achievement Hunter. One of their members went to Disneyland, and he posted a picture, and it was a picture that said enjoying Disneyland with my friends, and it was a bunch of arms in a circle. A commentator, some person on Twitter, called him out. It's like, this is the whitest picture I've ever seen. You could at least hire some people of color at your company. Which caused a whole bunch of other people to come out and start labeling all these racist claims against this guy. And the company. They're this company's racist, they don't hire people of color, and it's all a bunch of white people, and blah 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 this and blah 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 that. Until people started pointing out, well, half the people in the picture, because it was just their arms, right?
Yeah.
Half the people in the picture were people of color. There was a Muslim, an Indian, they were lighter skinned brown people, and it was their arms, but it was the underside of the arm, where everybody's lighter on the other underside.
Uh-huh.
Because it doesn't get as much sun. And it was just and then, of course, the people of color members of their company were just what are you people talking about? There are a lot of people of color that work for this company. There are people of color in this picture. But one guy said, this is racist. And the rest of the group just hey, this person's racist. Nobody discerned anything. Nobody stopped and thought for a second. There's no barrier. There's no barrier. But because of the way social media is, there's no barrier between thought and action anymore. People just do. People just say. And then people parrot what they say. They don't discern anything. They don't find facts from fiction. They just parrot. They just go. And that shit can destroy people's lives. Especially when it gets into personal things.
Now I feel like you're about to start on a different rant.
Well, it's there is a different rant because when it comes to social, people very much bring their personal lives to social media, whether they want to or not. They certainly do, and that with the current environment for certain things, that becomes very difficult because I always have an issue with the term allegations because that term doesn't really mean anything until there's something to back it up. And when people bring their personal stuff to social media, let's say there's a bad breakup, and this is not like in particular. I've just seen this like on a very personal level. There's a breakup with someone, and someone goes, well, after the breakup, person goes, well, this person did this to me while we were in a relationship. Then immediately, it doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter what's happening. Somebody's going to jump on it, and somebody's going to run with it. Whether it's true or not, somebody's going to do it, and they're going to jump with it. They're going to run with it.
Yeah.
And then the person's going to respond, and the other person's going to have to respond. They always respond. Somebody always responds. And the other person involved in the situation, whether it's true or false, going to respond, and they're going to say, well, that's not true. This is what happened. And somebody's going to go with them and goes, all right, this is what happened. And the other people go, well, no, this person said this is what happened, and we have to believe this person. So then you have a dividing line. At this point, it doesn't matter what. At this point in the conversation, no one cares what's true and what's false. No one cares about the personal nature of it. They don't care what's happening in the situation. They don't care what happened in the situation. They only care about what's being said back and forth. And that leads to even more people fighting with one another going, well, you support this person, so you must be bad because this person said this. And the other person goes, well, I'm not bad. You just believe what this person said. And it says you support this person and they're being manipulative, then you're being a bad person. You're just creating more and more conflict without any discernment on what's true or false.
I mean, and like, to be honest, that's always happened, always.
Yeah, but see,
it happens at a scale that's unprecedented because of the like how fast communication happens because of social media.
It's such a massive scale. It's just it's such an extraordinarily massive scale, and this is what bothers me the most. Besides people making snap judgments, doing all these things, doing this and that, without actually trying to figure out what's happening for real, and this goes on everything. My biggest issue out of all of that is when that happens, and then actual facts become presented. When situations start becoming more clear one way or another, and when presented with those facts, the people on one side or other go, well, those facts aren't real facts. Those facts aren't facts. Or, I don't care if those facts are true. I'm going to support what this person said. And, okay, well, like these facts are true. This person is lying. I don't care. I don't care if they're lying. I'm going to support what this person said. Because of the way, like I said, the group mentality and all this stuff has formulated in our social media world, facts don't matter. I mean, and this even goes back to what we were talking about earlier with discerning articles and seeing what's truth or not. In our current environment, in reality, facts don't matter. it's all about the most people saying the most stuff. It's all about the continuing echo. Facts are not truth anymore. The echo is what's truth. And that's not good at all. We can't lose the ability to we can't lose the ability and want to not only discern, but once we discern, interpret truth. If we live and continue in like our world without those abilities, without doing that, then nothing we hear will matter anymore. Like nothing we learn will matter anymore. It's like flat earthers. Back to them again.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care what proof is out there. They don't care what given facts. The people they admire, the people they whatever, and the groups they with, they continue to parrot the same information, and that information is to them true. Doesn't matter if it's not. And that's really difficult in political arenas, in scientific arenas, and very much in personal arenas. You can destroy someone's life one way or another, and you don't have any idea what's going on. You don't. You just hear something, and you make a judgment. And adding on to that, when you hear something, you make a judgment. You immediately put yourself, most people put themselves on a moral high ground that I have a serious problem with. If you put yourself on a moral high ground, then you've already lost. Because even if you hear something bad or that someone else did, you don't get to claim a moral high ground. You can what you can comment on is the bad action. But you don't get to go that I'm better because this person did something. You don't get to do that. Because my favorite phrase in the past couple months is, everyone is trash. You can come in and be against someone or against someone's actions without you personally taking some sort of moral high ground, because you don't deserve a moral high ground. No one deserves a moral high ground. But we do have to call out action, like call out things and people for doing things. Just don't put yourself on a pedestal. Sorry, that was my little side rant.
That was a side rant that you've gone on a few times recently.
It's so fucking annoying. It's because I see it constantly. Like one of my issues. So recently, the rapper XXXTentacion or XXX whatever died, and we've talked about him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
He has been violent. He beat up his pregnant girlfriend or whatever, and all this stuff, and that is awful. That is awful. But with that being said, he was 20, and he died horribly. Like, he was shot and killed in his car. And a lot of people, even like me, like what I said was, it is extremely unfortunate. Like, it is extremely unfortunate what happened to this person. No one deserves a violent death. No one deserves that. And I was like, it's also a shame that, man, he was a troubled, violent person. But he was 20. He's a kid. And dying so young, when you get your life taken away so long, so young, especially, this dude was dealing with some serious mental health issues. that needed some serious, like that needed treatment. His music very much displayed his mental health issues that needed help, like needed something. And I was like, it's a shame that he couldn't live long enough to try to do positive for the wrongs he had done. And like I said, because like you do something awful, but at least in my mind, if you do something awful, if you're still alive, you need to be doing something to make up for what you've done, right? Or at least try to bring more positive into the world for the negative you have done. And as I said, I'm not like what. I definitely don't defend this person's actions, but this is a kid that died violently, who, if given the option, could have done something good, had the potential of doing something good, and that is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that somebody lost their life. However, you can't say that on social media, because if you say it's unfortunate that somebody lost their life, the response from people will be, why are you supporting this abuser? And even worse, well, this person was an abuser, so this person deserved the death they got.
Now, see, that one is fucked up. So I was really hoping that you would not bring this up, because I have extremely complicated, intense feelings about this.
I know you do. But like for me, it's less about, like I said, the supporting abuser. This person did this; they deserve the horrible thing that happened to them. And that's too far. Like, that's too far. Because this is somebody's child. Like, it's like this person had family. I tried to remain with everything. I tried to remain human.
You know, I don't think nobody deserves to die like that. And I fuck all those people who are saying, well, he deserved to die like that because he beat up his girlfriend. That's a fucked up thing to say. But can we stop talking about this, please? Because it's making me feel really shitty about everything. Because I have not processed all my feelings about this one yet. And that's one of those things. I have been inundated with this story. I've got two people on my timeline, one of whom is extremely vocal with the position that you're taking, and the other one is extremely vocal on this guy was trash and he assaulted his girlfriend, and why are we all mourning the loss of his life and his career when nobody had shit to say when he beat up his girlfriend. And so I have heard nothing for the last 2 days except both sides of that, both extremely, like, opposing sides of this story. And I'm really, really, really overhearing about it. That's one of the reasons that I've been off Facebook the last couple of days.
I know those two people. I know exactly those two people. I've seen it. I'm
not sure if you know the one girl.
No, I am not friends with them, but I've seen it.
Okay. Yeah, no. So it's back and forth, and it's on my Facebook, and it's been on my Facebook since this thing happened. and I am really overthinking about it right now because it's making me, I don't know, I have very complicated feelings that I need to process before I talk about this anymore.
All right.
Sorry.
But, all right. We're not going to discuss like that in particular, but it brings up, I think, what my final point is on this whole social media thing. Because we have had this idea. We have had this idea for so long that things that happen on the internet aren't particularly real. You know, it's on the internet. You know, people can say what they want because it's on the internet. People can do what they want, have whatever opinion they want because it's on the internet, right? There's no filter because it's on the internet, right? So you can be your rawest, purest self because you're on the internet, right? Mm-hmm. And because of all this, we always forget that we forget the human factor in all of it. That behind every screen name, behind everything anybody says, there is a person. Or there are people. People with emotions, people with lives. And it's not just, this is the internet. Like, this is social media. It doesn't matter what I say. No, there are people behind everything. It does matter what you say. It does matter what you do. It does matter what you spread and, like, what articles you read and what articles you spread. It does matter what you post about someone. It does matter what facts you disseminate or what facts you don't listen to, because behind it all, there are people whose lives matter.
Yep.
And people forget that. Like I said, I've had a huge problem. I've had a huge problem with quote unquote activist circles, because we get so caught up in our activism and our beliefs and our ideals that we forget that people exist. That we forget that there are humans out there. That all of our ideals, everything we do and say affects real people. So you can go on Facebook and joke about, man, I'm tired. Like, man, straight people are so straight people are so trash. I just wish I've seen people go this, like, I just wish there's this straight, and this is not mentioning not personal the personal thing, other things that went on in our own personal circle, but I've seen it's like doing Pride Month, man. I wish there was a world with just no straight people. Or, man, I just wish there was a virus. Somebody said this in the morning. I just wish there was a virus that went out and killed all these racist ass white folks. That's fucked up. Like, those things aren't cool. Like, those people there are human lives at stake, like, in play in all of this. You don't forget that. Never forget that. Like, don't just treat and do things that harm people. No matter who you are, don't just do things that harm people just because that's what you want to say. And that's, man, this is what I just want to say. It's on the internet, so it doesn't matter. It fucking does, yo. I mean, even this conversation where we've talked about how social media and the news and all this stuff affects people's mental health and getting beat down by stuff. There's people behind everything. You can't divorce yourself from the humans behind every username, every screen, every whatever. So think about what you do, for fuck's sake. Discern, think, don't say things you wouldn't say to someone in real life, like out in public. Don't treat people in a way that you wouldn't treat them in real life, because those are people. And there's no real difference between that and real life. So I'm done here.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry. I get so angry.
Yeah, that's fine, except now we gotta bust through the sex segment because we're over an hour and a half already.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you sort of went on a rant.
I'm sorry. Like I said, I am. You know, I care about people.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on into our sex segment. Oh, before that, can anyone, for our listeners, can anyone, like send me like a message and teach me how to use Instagram?
Yeah, it's my understanding that to make the most effective use of Instagram, you have to take a lot of pictures.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
sort of the point.
Okay. Well, I am learning the Instagrams.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can follow me at Mr. Keem89 on Instagram. If you want to help me figure things out, then please follow me. DM me. I don't even know what any of this stuff. I don't know what any of this shit means. Anyway, we are going to move on to our sex segment after a brief musical interlude. Enjoy.
And welcome everyone to the sex segment. So today we are talking about, we're going to do a little bit of education just around something that, to be honest, something that Keem and I have been talking about recently. It's come up a lot in the circles that I've been in recently. And it's something that's kind of misunderstood, and a lot of people don't know very much about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about what it is, and clear up some talk about what it entails, clear up some misconceptions. And that thing is primal play, which
what does that mean?
So primal play is it's generally considered to be part of the kink scene, right? Like most people who consider themselves primal are in some way connected with the kink scene, but that doesn't have to be the case, right? Primal play at its core is just exercising your sexuality in a way that is more physical than it is mental, right? And more animalistic, right? So somebody who considers themselves to be primal or who accesses that space will probably will probably be rougher, right? Be rougher than not. Have rougher sex we'll probably not be super verbal during sex, but instead we'll make more nonverbal sounds, right? Grunt, moan, growl. Somebody that I know likes to growl.
I don't know who a person that may do that is. I
am sure that I tied you up once and you snarled at me, and it was kind of frightening, but also pretty hot. Not gonna lie. But so, and like that may be something that is explored consciously, or it may be something that is less consciously explored, right? But some people just access that part of their sexuality that way. When you start to get into a little bit more of it, when you start to get into it more with regards, especially to the kink scene, you can learn more vocabulary about it, right? To where some people identify like within the primal scene, right? Like these are people that want to like get right down to it. Like I know some people who part of their primal expression within their sexuality is they go out and have sex just like in the woods, like in the dirt, right? And that's part of how they explore that. They get really animalistic about it and really natural and like strip away everything that's extra.
That
including a bed or that's anything between them and the dirt.
That sounds that sounds interesting.
You sound very interested. Right. And that's one way of exploring that. When you start to get it more into the vocabulary of it, once you get into primal identification, people who consciously identify as primal as part of their sexuality, there's different ways of expressing that too, right? You can identify more as a predator or as prey, and that gets into incorporating this primal element with the DS dynamics, right? To where one person is literally hunting the other one, right? And is playing at consuming them, right?
Oh.
That could be, that I'm not going to let you do that.
I know you're not gonna let me do that, but I know I didn't know that was an actual thing that people do.
Yeah, that's a thing that people do. I can tell you're into that, and I'm not gonna let you do that.
I know, but I need to find somebody who will.
Right? Because if you and
that doesn't happen very often.
Say what?
I got actual goosebumps. That doesn't happen very often.
That is very interesting. That is very interesting. I wish I could be that person for you, but I cannot. I cannot be that person for you.
Oh, I know.
Because if you and I are going to explore this like we've been talking about, we're going to be fighting for dominance. Like actually fighting, which is another aspect of this, right? If you get two people who consider themselves predators, or some people use that language that's been adopted around wolf packs, like if you consider yourself alpha, like the alpha, or you're fighting for that dominant position, that's where you and I would play, because we're both generally dominant people. We're going to be fighting for that top position.
Right.
And this, in the way that we would play with this looks very much like the way that animals fight, right? Except like we're also going to be hitting, right? Right. But like once you get into this, it's extremely physical, whether you're having sex or whether it's just role playing without sex, which some people also do, right? It's extremely physical, wrestling, scratching, biting, trying to, as in our case, trying to one up the other, trying to get that upper hand, trying to figure out how to get that top position. If you're role playing as predator and prey, it's going to be more like running and hiding and fighting and hunting, right? Which is not how we're going to play. I keep reiterating that just in case you get this mistaken idea that I'm going to let you hunt me.
I communicate very well. You tell me something one time, and I got it.
Yep. But so, I mean, that's the basics of what it is, right? And some people mistakenly conflate this with some other stuff, right? And sometimes it's related and sometimes it's not, right? So one thing that this might be conflated with mistakenly is rough body play, which is like it's also very, very physical, right? With like there's hitting and there's punching and there's slapping and hair pulling and all of that, which all of those things can definitely be part of primal play, but also they can be done separately from primal play, and you can do those things without feeling like you are primal without accessing that particular headspace, right? Those things can be related, but can be separate.
Right.
And another thing that is often conflated with primal play, which again can be related but is also separate, is pet play or pet play or actual like literal animal role play, right? And there's a lot of people that do pet play, that do have an animal persona, or even like furries, right? There's a lot of people that do have an animal persona and have that as part of their kink, as part of their sexuality, and also as part of that do primal play, either as predator and prey or as whatever other expression that takes for them. But also, you do not have to have a literal animal persona to actually literally role play as an animal in order to engage in primal play, right? You can do those things even though it is an extremely animalistic expression, you don't literally have to be role playing an animal in order to participate in that.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so you can engage in those two things separately from one another, right? Not everybody who does pet play or is a furry or role plays as an animal considers themselves primal, and not everybody who is primal does pet play or participates in any of the other kinds of animal role play. Like those two things are separate, even though they can be related. So did that answer your question, Keem?
Yes.
Do you have anything to add to this conversation?
No, now my mind is going into some most dangerous game / naked and afraid shit. And
yeah, I am not into that.
I know you are not into that, but
I mean, I would consider topping that for somebody.
But can you imagine like me and you like hunting someone
or a couple someones?
They
get to work together and we get to work together.
I am way more into that than I thought I would. I did not know. Holy shit.
Congratulations, listeners. You just witnessed the birth of a kink. This is what it looks like. I don't know if you know. How did you not know that was a thing?
How involved am I in this stuff?
Not as involved as you should be. Goddamn.
See, I didn't know that was a thing. Like, oh my god.
You need to do the BDSM test.
I've done it.
You've done it, and you didn't know that being a a predator was a thing.
Yeah, I knew I know being a predator was a thing, but I didn't know it could be taken to the. I didn't know it meant like I could actually hunt someone.
Dude, scenes can mean anything you want them to. If you identify as a predator and you find somebody who identifies as prey, you can do anything that you want to, like negotiate and anything that you consensually negotiate with them, obviously. Like,
Right.
negotiate your scenes, make sure everybody's on the same page, but then once the scene starts, you do what you want to do. Like, you can make that scene be as complicated as you want it to be. If you want to hunt, like, literally actually, like, go out in the woods and, like, throw somebody naked into the woods and hunt them, shit, as long as they consent. Why the fuck not?
Hey, listeners, if you're in the New York, if you're in the New York area and would be into that, please let me know.
Please contact Keem.
Because, yeah, I'm all about it, yo.
It's really interesting to me how intensely you're into this. I love it. This was the birth of a kink right now.
Because like one, you like I've made it painfully clear. I like to fight. Like I like to fight. That's just one of the things I like to do. Both kink, like both sex wise and non sex wise. I like to fight. I like to wrestle. That's what I and as weird as it may sound, it's one of the reasons I watch wrestling Mondays and Tuesdays. Not for like sexual reasons, but I like the concept of like wrestling and throwing someone and like a battle.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you already knew that, and we're negotiating that if the listeners hadn't been a tale, but like actually hunting someone, like I would like even if not in the woods, even if not in the woods, I would love to like get a location, like a tracker on somebody's phone, and just like release them out in the city, and fucking just spend a day like tracking them on the phone. To capture, like that would be incredible. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We should talk. There's a scenario and a specific set of circumstances where I might be okay with that.
We definitely should talk.
We'll make some shit happen.
Side note, officially, oh no, I'll say this at the end. I'll say this at the end of the show. So, but yeah. So y'all saw the birth of something.
Yes, that's what it looks like, folks. Anyway, we're running up right at 2 hours. So, anything else to add to this conversation?
Not to this conversation.
Okay.
But before we end the show, as of right now, officially, as of this moment, the executive order to stop the separation of families at the border has been signed. But it seems to be that from now on they're just going to be detaining the entire families indefinitely. So, of course, by the time this comes out, probably more things will have unfolded in this whole scenario. But like as of this recording, this executive order has been signed. Take with that what you will. And with that, we're going to end this show. thank you to our musical guests for providing us music this week, and thank you to the Living Room Leftists. If you want to get in contact with us, you can catch us on Facebook, or you can you can find me personally on Instagram at Mr. Keem89. And you can try our Discord if you want to come talk to us, you want to come be on the show, want to have your music featured, just get in touch with us. As always, this has been Keem and Esme, and we are out.
But there are these things that matter, and they really fucking matter. There's like 4 things that matter, and they really fucking matter. I mean, objectively, you should care, especially you, if you thought about it for 5 fucking minutes.